Am I supposed to turn this on the same problem?
I just turned towards the screen.
Yawning.
Don't worry about your
Don't.
He's sharing the screen.
I did. It's just lagging.
But I am very, very happy to be here again. Thank you guys for inviting me back. Brittany, Pam, Sunny, Angela, Marcia, and Jessica. Angela insisted that I have a pop quiz about names earlier. So, so I'm back. What we're going to talk about today is the overcoming interaction anxiety, which is what we talked about at the end of last time. I made a promise. I keep my promises. Isn't that right, Brian? All right. So overcoming interaction anxiety is the process of bridging the gap between fear and freedom. So that worked a minute ago. Might have to, yeah. At any rate, the next slide is up. Is my training objectives. My training objectives being not to bore the class. You guys remember that from last time. If I can manage not to bore you guys and to provide you guys with at least one technique to affect positive change in your life and not bore the class, then I'll have considered this whole thing a success. I know a lot of people put their training objectives up there at the beginning and then put their training objectives again up there at the end and review and prove, oh, I did what I said I was going to do. I hope you guys believe that I'll say what I'm going to do because that's why Brian brought me back. So you guys all remember me from last time. Does anybody have any questions about who I am? So we can skip that whole part? Okay. Feel free to ask questions at any time. I added that slide in because last time it wasn't in there. And then at the end, I kind of sprung it on you at the end. Questions? Anyone? Anyone? So we don't need that. So anytime you have a question, just jump in. You don't have to raise your hand. Just try it. So what is interaction anxiety? So a lot of times the business that you guys are in involves a lot of cold contact, speaking to people that you haven't met before that you don't know, cold calling on the telephone. Reaching out to people at their homes or at their place of work, and you've never met them, you've never dealt with them before. There's a certain type of person who's outgoing, who's all about that. And then there's 99% of the rest of the people who will do it, but it's not their favorite thing in the world. So that interaction anxiety is the stress or tension that you feel when you're faced with a scenario that requires interaction outside of your normal routine. If you go to Starbucks every day and you order a coffee from the same girl every single day, that doesn't bother you. You don't get stressed out about that. It's just Sandy. Hey, Sandy, can I get my, oh, you want your usual? Yeah, that's okay. Okay, great. No stress, no anxiety about that. But stuff that happens outside of your normal routine is where you start to get stressed out. It's that unknown and unfamiliar part of it. Interaction anxiety often leads to analysis paralysis, which is a fancy way of, you know, that moment when you're looking at the phone, you're like, I really have to call this person. I got to call this person.
Mm-hmm.
You know what, maybe I need a Mountain Dew first. I'll be back. And then I'll call. We've all done it. We've all done it. I do it. Still to this day, I'm like, is this the moment? Is it really the moment? Maybe an hour from now is the moment.
Yes.
That's analysis paralysis. You're inside your own head thinking about what you're going to do, what you're going to say, and how you're going to handle the situation. It's the what if portion of your life. Well, what if this? What if that? So what causes interaction anxiety? Were you doing it or was the clicker doing it?
Yeah, but if the clicker's doing it, I'm just trying to get everything lined up. What is that showing?
It's mirroring the.
Right, but where are you gonna stay? Right there?
Brian hates the fact that I walk around constantly while I do. You remember from last time, I was there, I was up here, I was back there. I do a lot of walking around. When I used to teach Six Sigma classes, it was in an auditorium. And so it was like, it would go all the way up. And I would walk all the way to the top and holler down to the bottom. And then I'd walk all the way down to the bottom and back up on the other side, just constantly moving around. I didn't realize how frustrating that was for people until just now.
Shut it. It's going. Shut the door.
It's working, though. Frozen up there. There it is. So what causes interaction anxiety? So interaction anxiety is caused by an emotional gap between what you're familiar with, what's known to you, and what's unfamiliar, what's unknown to you. So that emotional gap between this is what I know, this is what I do, I'm good with this, I know I'm good at this, and the unknown. And the unknown always seems to default inside of people's minds to, I don't know if I'm good at this. And so it separates your comfort zone from experiences that would normally lead to growth for you. And so that, a lot of that thing is termed to be the terror barrier. You can walk right up to it all day long and be like, oh, I'm good with this. Everything on this side is known to me, familiar to me. On that side, I don't know what's on the other side. But the difference there is that on this side, you also know what your results are going to be. You know what you have, you know what you are, you know what you can do on this side. But on that side, it's unknown and unfamiliar and scary. But on this side of it is where growth happens, where potential positive outcomes can happen. Throwing my timing off because I usually click here. Well, it took the click. We're just waiting for it to make it from there to there. So through the presentation, I'm going to talk a little bit about faith. Now, when I talk about faith, I want to make sure I'm not trying to disavow anybody of their beliefs at all. Faith, as defined for our purposes here, is going to be a strong belief or confidence in something. Okay. If we want to have a conversation about faith, religion, and all that stuff that's outside the scope of this course, catch me in the parking lot. We'll have a conversation. I would love to. But for this purpose, it just talks about belief or confidence in something. Bless you.
Thank you.
I want you to know something. My wife, she has allergies, so she sneezes a lot. And so all day long, I go, bless you, my love. Bless you, my love. Right then, I said, bless you. And I was like, whoa, Angela don't know me like that. So, bless you, hey, Angela.
Yeah.
So let's talk about faith. What does faith require of you as a person? It requires you to believe in something that has not happened yet. If you have faith, I have faith that I can bench press this weight. I have faith that I can jump over this hole. I have faith that I can, whatever it is. It requires you to believe something that has not happened yet. It also, faith causes measurable physiological changes in your body. When you believe in yourself in doing something, scientists can measure that change in your brain. Electrochemical activity in the brain, it changes your heart rate, your breathing patterns. That changes things. It also has a lasting and significant outcome, impact on the outcome of the situation. And so that's what faith is. Well, it's not popping up on the screen, but fear also requires you to believe in something that hasn't happened yet. When you're afraid of something, you're believing something that hasn't happened yet. There it is. It causes measurable physiological changes in the body. Everyone who's seen a scary movie knows, oh, God, okay, I'm all right. I'm going to make it. I'm going to pull through. Woo. It causes measurable physiological changes in the body, and fear has profound impact on the outcome of the situation. So here is a visual representation of that. I will say the words terror barrier, I stole that shamelessly from Bob Proctor.
Love Bob Proctor.
I love Bob Proctor. He's a fan. I'm going to make another reference to him later on, as well as Bruce Lee and a couple others.
I
But
recognize that.
the phrase terror barrier, I stole shamelessly from him. Now, Bob Proctor will tell you that he got it from Joseph Murphy, and Joseph Murphy will tell you he got it from Earl Nightingale, and Tony Robbins will tell you he got it from Jim Rohn. I looked, Marcus Aurelius said it like 2,000 years ago, and then before that, Jesus said it. So the concept of the fact that you have to overcome fear in order to grow into the person you were born to be goes way, way, way back. So yes, I took it from Bob Proctor, but to be fair, he didn't own it either. So on this side of the terror barrier, you see you've got what's familiar, what's safe. We're comfortable. We're asleep at the wheel. It's mostly harmless. We're in the OODA loop, if you remember that from last time. Just wandering around, observe, orient, decide, act, whatever you got to do. That's how you drive from point A to point B when you go to work in the morning, and you don't even remember the path that you drove, because you know this is all familiar. I know exactly what I'm doing. Unless sometimes something happens and somebody crashes into you, Angela. Isn't that right? I want you to know I'm still thankful that you're here.
Thank you.
Very, very happy about that.
On
On the other side of the terror barrier, you have unfamiliar, unknown. I don't know what's going to happen over here. It scares me because I'm unfamiliar with it and I don't know what it is. But the reason that it scares you, I actually saw a quote from Will Smith yesterday that fits in here. He said, fear isn't real. Fear is a manufactured product of your mind. Don't get it wrong. Danger is real, but fear is something that you have manufactured inside yourself. When I was in Sunday school, when I was a kid, the Sunday school teacher even said something along those lines. He said, it's good to have a healthy respect for things that are dangerous, but it does not mean you should live with fear, because fear is something that you produced inside your own mind. You decided ahead of time, the outcome of this scenario is going to be negative. And often you're afraid of a scenario that you're not even in. If you're sitting there and you find yourself imagining something that happened before, something that could happen in the future, what if so-and-so does this? What if I make a mistake with my kids like this? What if this happens to my kids? Scenarios that don't exist, but inside your mind, you've gotten to the point to where you've built that up and you end up being afraid of it. And it creates a physiological change in your body. It requires you to believe something that hasn't happened yet, and it's going to have a lasting impact. If you're over here afraid of something that hasn't happened and most likely won't happen, but you have to take your, is it AHIP test? You have to take your AHIP test and you're thinking about that. Marcia experienced this the other day or the other week when she's busy studying for her test, but some idiot comes walking in. Hey, how you doing? I'm fine. Get out. I'm studying. Remember?
I do.
And so, you know, those things will have an impact on the outcome, in this case, the test that you're going to take.
I was in a class one time that said 9 times out of 10, you put your body through more negative emotions just by worrying about what's going to happen than the actual situation will put your body through.
That is 10 out of 10 correct. It's absolutely correct. And I'll talk a little bit later on about why that is. So the top fears of adults, I'm sure we probably have a good idea of them. Sonny, what do you think is the #1 fear of adults?
Being homeless?
I'll take that. No, but I'll take it. That's a good one. Pam, what do you think?
Failure.
I like that one too, which is one that people think about all the time. What if I fail in this scenario? Brittany?
Worry about finances.
God, that would be a fantastic one. And I would have more hope if that was people's at least #3 fear. It's like, well, I probably don't want to go broke.
Yeah.
#1, what's that?
Yeah.
Death. Thank you.
Fear.
Good one. Death. Death would be a good thing to have a healthy respect of and not want to have happen, right? #1 is public speaking.
Yes.
I was about to say.
I was about to say that too.
Hey, speaking of public. #1 is public speaking. All right, #2, bugs and heights.
I'm so glad.
Death didn't make the top 3, and I have a slide. The next slide over here, you can put that on the desk. The next slide is the top 10.
Oh,
Fear of dying didn't even make the top 10.
oh, wow.
Anybody who tells me what #10 is, I'll give you $1.
Rejection.
If your brain isn't saying clowns, you're wrong. Clowns made the top 10, death did not. #1 is public speaking. So that means that adults in the developed world, if they go to a funeral, they think it's better to be in the casket than giving the eulogy.
That's a good scenario.
Ridiculous, but true.
Yes, apparently.
I'm working
And that's
on it.
one of mine, so.
Yeah,
Or
and that-
clowns?
you know what? You're in good company. Damn near everybody
Yeah.
is with you on that one. Jessica, would you reach across and hit the slideshow?
Not yet.
Not yet. Like I said, not yet. So when you think about the fact that fears require you to believe something that hasn't happened yet, and you look at the way people in the developed world prioritize their mental capacity, where am I going to put my thoughts today? Clowns. I'm afraid of clowns. People want to bump into a clown, they're like, I hope it kills me quick because I'm afraid of clowns more than I am of dying. So if you think about the fact that people everywhere are putting their mental ability somewhere that it hasn't happened. It probably won't happen. I don't think the clowns are coming today. Zombies are above clowns for the record, Jessica. So you guys aren't wrong. So, you think I'm joking?
Zombie.
Yes, zombies are above clowns. Heights are above zombies. And then, of course, bugs. I mean, come on, spiders. Whew.
My
And-
fiance is terrified of bugs and
It's-
spiders. It's the funniest thing to me. It's so funny because that doesn't bother me. He's like, there's a spider.
But you know what? It's a totally reasonable fear according to 99% of Americans, adult Americans.
He'll be happy to hear that.
Yeah, he's in good company. And having all the weaponry for the zombies, same thing. He's in good company. And you know what? I bet you deep down somewhere, he's got weapons because of clowns too. I had a friend of mine at the police department. We were on the SWAT team together. I mean, this guy, no fear about kicking the door to a drug house. Nothing scares this guy. Terrified of clowns. Terrified. We walked into a diner. Nice diner, but it had one of those like Hollywood kind of pictures, like from the 50s of a clown. Gone. Didn't even say, I have to go, I'm scared of clowns. Just like, where's Matt? Gone. Poof, like a ninja. Pow, gone. That's how scared he is of clowns.
I wonder why people are so scared. The movie It, if you watched that as a child.
I asked him about it. It wasn't the movie It, but it was a clown movie. It was some movie when he was a kid. He snuck out of bed and into the living room to watch whatever his parents were watching. It was some movie where people put on clown costumes and went into a house. And he's like, I don't even know what movie it is. I don't care. I don't know. So this guy, you know me, if I don't know, I got to Google it and I got to Google it now. So I Google it. I'm in front of him. I'm like, oh, I found the movie. You want to know? He's like, no, I don't want to know.
Go ahead, talk. I'm about there.
Okay. So there's the way that people prioritize their mental energy is on what we can all in this room right now kind of agree is probably some of the wrong things. But public speaking being the number one thing that people are afraid of. Now, public speaking can mean a lot of things. It can mean getting up in front of a room and speaking, or it can mean you have to pick up the phone and speak to a stranger, or it can mean that you have to go into a business that you've never been in before and speak to the people that are there. Angela, which one kind of gives you the most?
Speaking to people like in public.
You mean like in front of a group?
Yeah, in front of a group.
Well, I'm not going to pick on you, but are you comfortable with talking to us a little bit about why?
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with it because I think it's like my asset. Like,
You're what?
Your accent?
yes,
You're what?
I'm not saying it again. It's because sometimes I feel like I need a class on how to pronounce certain words because when you grow up in a family like that, I mean, like I grew up in my parents good parents, but I'm saying like the pronouncing words and then not being able to like, I guess,
Like country
have,
slang.
yeah.
I like that. I like that
Yeah,
admission.
and then like you say words because you hear them say it like that and really it's not pronouncing it.
It's
right, unless
called
somebody corrects
colloquial language,
you. Yes.
and me and you will work with that, okay?
Okay.
I need 4 marbles when you go home and bring it back to me,
Okay.
okay?
All right.
I appreciate you letting us know and sharing that with us. That actually means a lot.
Yeah.
And that one fact, I think that one crux there is keeping you from doing things that you might otherwise do and maybe being in situations where you might otherwise thrive. Is that
Right. Absolutely.
because the underlying subtext there is, well, I don't want to speak in public because I'm worried about my accent.
Right.
But you are not worried about your accent. You're speaking to me. You speak out loud to yourself. You speak to your friends and family. You're worried what they
Mhm.
are going to
Right.
think of your accent,
Right.
which means you have to believe ahead of time that they are not going to like your accent. They are not going to understand your accent. So you decided ahead of time that they're not going to like or understand you.
Mhm.
And that's where your fear is coming from. But what if you had some faith and said, you know what? I'm in North Carolina. They're going to understand me just fine. And they want to hear it from me because that scientific knucklehead that went before me, he bored the hell out of me.
Yeah.
That could be the situation that you're in, and you're just not allowing yourself to get into it. And like I said, I'm not gonna pick on you. I appreciate you sharing it with us. If you want to throw something at me, borrow Marshall's stapler.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, but there it is. You think I'm lying? Clouds, look at it right there, clouds. Darkness, zombies, strangers. This is the top fears of adults, according to the Washington Post. Adults, grown folk worried about being kidnapped, strangers.
It's very
Flying.
scary
It is a terrifying thing.
to be kidnapped.
Okay, you know, you been getting that.
Normally I have a witty thing
I
to
have
say,
one
but in
too.
this case, I'm just be like moving along.
Good, that's how I ended up in
You want-
North Carolina. I was kidnapped.
You want to tell us a little more about that?
I'm not playing. I'm 100%
Really?
serious.
Was it one of your parents?
One of my parents' friends, yep, on
Yeah.
drugs.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
It took them almost 2 weeks to find me and my sister. And as soon as my dad found us, he shipped us to North Carolina. But you want to talk about being afraid? For years after that, I was afraid. They locked me in a closet.
Mm.
I have a buddy of mine who was kidnapped by his father, which is odd because your parents are the people who tell you what kidnapping is. And so when you're a child and you're kidnapped by your parent, you don't know that you've been kidnapped.
Yeah, that happened to
Right.
my child.
Yeah.
My two oldest ones.
And they don't know, I mean, they don't know there's a
Yeah.
problem. You know, it's something, it's a real thing. But you have people that get all the way into adulthood and that's a real fear for them. But it does, in fact, require them to believe I'm going to be kidnapped again. But that hasn't happened yet. Again, healthy respect for things that are dangerous, but not necessarily needing fear. Claustrophobia, now that's an understandable one. But bugs, heights, and public speaking are number 1, 2, and 3. So I came up with the pre-qualification triad. In any unfamiliar scenario, ask yourself these 3 questions to determine whether or not you should allow yourself to be in that scenario. Question 1, is someone gonna kill me dead or eat me alive? If the answer is yes, Uncle Tiny says you can just leave. You don't have to do it. You don't have to make that phone call if you think somebody's gonna kill you or eat you, okay? You don't have to go into that business if you think somebody's gonna kill you or eat you. You're done. You don't even go to question 2. Just pull the ripcord like a parachute and get out of it. Question 2, has anyone ever succeeded in this scenario? It is highly unlikely that any one of us is going to be in a scenario where it's truly never, ever, ever been done successfully before. Could it happen? Yes. Yes. We absolutely, Pam could decide one day that she's going to do something never been done before. And Pam could do it phenomenally and be the first one. And that's great. But most things that we're going to have to do, making a cold call, making a cold contact in a business, selling policy, it's been done before, which means somebody has successfully done it. Now, what if nobody ever has? Pam's decided that she's leaving Advanced Auto Parts. She's going to start an auto parts store, but only for rocket ships in Kernersville. Okay? Never been done before. But you know what? Just because it's never been done doesn't mean it can't be done. So we go to question 3. Is it physically possible to succeed in this scenario? If it's physically possible, then you still should give it a try if you think the outcome could be worth it. Could make a lot of money, man.
Not just that, you got internet, so you keep the whole world.
You see? A global internet rocket parts business. This is a great idea, Pam. I'm glad you thought of it. The problem is that most people suffer from what I'm calling goal intimidation. Again, Marcia stole this one from Bob Proctor.
I see that.
Yeah, but I give him full credit. Bob Proctor's 3 types of goals. He said it great. I'm not going to try to say it better than him. There are A, B, and C type goals. A type goals are goals you already know how to do. I have a goal to get a cup of coffee. I'm going to Starbucks. I get a cup of coffee. I knew how to do it. Now I've got what I wanted. My goal has been accomplished. B type goals are goals I think I can accomplish this if. I set a goal to get X, Y, or Z car. I can accomplish that if I get approved for the credit, if I can make the payments, that kind of thing. If these things come to play, then I can accomplish this goal, and I know that already. A C type goal, Marcia, you want to chime in on
I have no clue and I'm terrified.
this?
I can read.
Okay, let me tell you something about my PowerPoints. My PowerPoints are like, I use them kind of like the church program. They tell us where we are in the service, but they don't really have the message from the Lord on there, okay? So C-type goals are goals that you do not know how to do. You have absolutely no idea. I want to generate $1 million in revenue between October and December of this year. I have no idea how to do it.
I have those goals.
I have no idea. Marcia, do you have any idea yet?
No.
Okay, so you want to generate $1 million in revenue between October and December of 2021, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You don't know how to do it. So let's work on the, so let's work on the pre-qualification triad. Is anyone going to kill you dead or eat you alive by trying that?
No.
Has anyone ever generated $1 million in revenue?
Yes,
Is it physically possible for you to do it?
absolutely.
So should we go for it?
Yes,
Is the reward worth the risk?
absolutely.
That's a C-type goal. Let's go for it. So it'll be the forward arrow. I think what you just did is mute it. Yeah. There we go. Okay. The problem is that C-type goals instill fear in people because they demand growth. Remember, we talked about the fact that the other side of the terror barrier is where you have your needed growth experiences. C-type goals demand growth from you. You absolutely can't accomplish them without growing. You have to grow into the person who can generate that type of revenue. You have to grow into the person who knows about rocket parts. You have to grow into the person who can do that goal. They require action. Nobody ever set a C-type goal and then drank a bunch of coffee and called it a day. Jim Carrey was living in a van and he wrote down that he was going to make, I think it was $10 million for making a single movie. And then he actually had to go and work at it. He had to go make movies. He had to go do stand-up comedy. And eventually he was paid that $10 million for making Dumb and Dumber. It's a C-type goal. It requires action, but those C-type goals lead to monumental accomplishments. Marcia, if you generate $1 million in revenue between October and December this year, would you consider that monumental?
Absolutely.
Brian? Monumental, right?
Oh, yeah.
There you go. So C-type goals, while they cause discomfort, demand growth, and require action, they are monumental accomplishments. We already went through the pre-qual triad, so we know that. So I term this the dreaded door. I talk about the dreaded door because a lot of, when I go to businesses and I talk, what a lot of them have to do, like a roofing company, they literally go door to door. You know, I need your roof. Okay. Okay. Need your roof? No, okay. A roofing company or any type of sales company, solar panels are big. You guys get knocks on your door about solar panels?
My neighbor has some on their house.
There you go. Solar panels are big, but what they have to overcome is the fear of knocking on that door, that fear of starting that conversation with somebody they've never met before. They do not know who that person is. They don't know the type of person they are. They don't know how they're going to react. And so now we get our what ifs. What will I say to them? What if I sound wrong, Angela? What if they don't like me? What if they're angry that I bothered them? These are the things that you are making up inside of your head before you even knock on the door. Remember your faith versus fear dynamic. Your fear is making you believe that you're going to sound wrong. Your fear is going to make you believe that you won't know what to say. Your fear is making you believe that they're going to be upset that you bothered them. But faith would tell you something else. Remember that faith and fear both require you to believe something that hasn't happened yet. Have faith in yourself. Have faith that you are, in fact, worthy of the scenario. If I could have gotten a picture with everybody that's here on it, I would have done it. That's a couple of years. So if you have faith in yourself that you're worthy of the scenario that you're about to go in, is there a story behind that picture, Brittany? But you're not. She's not. He's not.
What is that? 4, 4, 4.
Wow.
We're good.
Randy, you're still here, right? Just checking. What you need to do is establish your inner identity. Now, Bob Proctor calls it paradigms, and some people call it self-image, and Tony Robbins will talk about neuro-linguistic programming, and Joseph Murphy talks about the power of the subconscious. It's all the same thing. Your inner identity is the person that you are, whether you know it or not. It doesn't care if you know, if you recognize it. It's the person that you are, whether you know it or not. So where's the problem? The problem is that you're not the one who got the first crack at setting who you are, whether you know it or not. It all happened when you were a kid. Think about a thermostat, which is how Bob Proctor again talks about it. He said, okay, a thermostat, you set it at 72 degrees, and if it becomes 73, it clicks on, cools it off. If it goes below, it lets it warm up, right? Thermostat has decided what temperature it should be and wants to keep it that way. But who was in charge of the thermostat when you were a kid?
Parents.
Parents.
Raising you.
Your parents set the thermostat. When you're a child, the parents set the thermostat. Then you get to high school and your stupid knuckleheaded friends set your thermostat. Or family members. My siblings were good about this. People have decided who you are, and they'll be glad to remind you if you try to change. It's not that they don't like you. It's not that they don't want you to succeed. They just don't want you to do better than they are, and they don't want you to leave. Period.
That's true.
So when you're a child, mom and dad set your thermostat, and then for years, you didn't deviate from that. But then you got to high school and you met some knuckleheaded friends who were into this or that or the other thing. Your parents wouldn't like that, but you're going to be into it because your friends are and your siblings. And so now you got a new set thermostat, but you never deviate from that. We grown folks now, you get to set your own thermostat. I do. I mean, now my wife's out of town. I get to set the thermostat. You set the thermostat. You decide what your set point is for success and grow into being that person. And don't let parents, siblings, family members, friends cause you to deviate from that. You be who you are. You get to decide who you are. And now you know you're that person. It's like bumper bowling. You know, you go bowling, you roll it down the lane, but they got the bumpers up. If you go too far off path, they'll knock you back in. That's just like, it's not just friends and family too. It's your entire social circle. They know who you are. Ah, come on, Brittany, you're not going to do that. Marcia, sell 1 million, whatever. Come on, let's go. We're gonna go drink some wine. We're gonna complain about our bills, and then we're gonna go home, just like every other day, Marcia.
Yeah, you can.
See? What if, because it's not that they don't like you. It's not that they're upset about the idea of you having success. They just decided what success is. The bumpers on the bumper bowling have decided that if they knock you into the middle of the lane, you'll be reasonably successful. But what if going down that gutter is the exact path to where you want to be? Just because nobody else did it doesn't mean that you can't do it. Your inner identity is what frames the way you view all of these situations. The reason you feel like that door is a dreaded door, the reason you feel like that you don't want to get up in front of somebody, in front of a group and speak, is because of the fact that your inner identity feels like they won't like the way that you sound. Your inner identity. Are you laughing at me?
No, she just told me she's cold. I turned down the air because I was burning up.
Winter coat.
This is exactly what we were just talking about.
I brought one this time.
Okay.
I'm always
Okay.
freezing.
Get your coat out. We're not going. You are all hot.
No, I brought one because I'm
I'm
always freezing in
burning.
here.
I'm literally sweating. Do you see it? Literally
It's
sweating.
warm in here, and I'm cold, so that's why I put on some sleep. More jeans. So I'm letting me go.
Look at this chivalrous young man. Look at him. Brian, your jacket is a blanket for
Yeah.
him. Zip up that sleeping bag, stay warm. So the way that you view yourself and the person that you are, whether you know it or not, will frame, it will kind of color the way you see every situation. So if you see a situation, then you feel like you might not be worthy of that situation, it's because you've labeled yourself a certain way. How do you label you? That's one thing you have to think about your inner talk. And think about how you've labeled yourself and how other people have had the gall to label you. You can't do that because you're this. You shouldn't do that because you're this. Nobody from this town has ever done that. That's a label. You have to break through the label, break out of the frame, and reframe the scenario for how you see yourself. So if you reframe the dreaded door, when you're standing outside that door and you see it, instead of saying, what if they don't like me? What am I going to say when I walk in there? What am I going to do? What if I'm bothering them? Reframe it a different way. What are some ways that you could reframe it? Angela? Why you pick on me? Marcia?
How do you reframe the dreaded door?
Yeah.
Try to change your self-image. You try to work on yourself to become better and get outside of that.
So what would be a more positive idea about the other side of that door? Jessica?
They're gonna talk to me. They're not gonna shut the door in my face.
There we go. That's a perfect one because a lot of people have that fear that they're going to shut the door in my face.
And a lot of times people, I mean, it is really, just from like doing network marketing, this, I've gone through this like exact same thing just in the past couple months. So it's really fresh, you know, and a lot of times people are open to at least the conversation.
Mhm.
And even if they don't do it like immediately, you planted a seed. You
Yes.
know, they may call you 6 months, a year down the road and be like, hey, you know, that time you come on and talk to me, you know, that I've been thinking.
Which happens, it happens more often than you
It
would imagine.
does. It seriously does.
Especially these days because we have access to so much information. As soon as you leave the doorstep, they're gonna Google it
Yeah.
and make sure you're not the car warranty
That's
guy.
right.
Or the prince who's gonna give me a gold bar if I'll just give you $500. They're gonna Google it and make sure that what you're doing is actually a legitimate thing. And once they have that confidence, they can continue to do research. They go down that rabbit hole a little bit. Next thing you know, you get a phone call.
That's right.
That happens more often than you would imagine. So when you reframe the dreaded door, think about on the other side of that door, you've got people to serve. You've got people in need. What if the person on the other side of that door is desperate for your solution? They've got the problem, but they have no idea what the solution is. And then you knock on the door and all of a sudden, boom, there is the solution they've been praying for. Have you ever thought maybe you're the one that they've been hoping
That's right.
for? For months, I've been waiting for somebody to have the right solution. And you have potential business or networking contacts. You could even have potential friends on the other side of that door, right, Brian? See? If I had stood outside of that door and just been afraid to go in this tinted glass that probably don't want to be bothered, well, it's not, you know what, forget about it. No, I'm good. I'm gonna go get a cheeseburger. I'm gonna drink wine, go home. I would never have met any one of you, and you guys are phenomenal. Even Pam. A little quiet, but still, I love you. But I wouldn't have met anybody in here. And I hope that each of you got at least a little bit out of some of the things that I've tried to teach. And if I had been too scared to open that door and come in, that never would have happened. I never would have met Brian. I've learned so much from Brian in the last 3 weeks, I can't even tell you. It's crazy. I mean, Brian and I, we have a lot of the same.
How to
same
make a
thought
mess.
process.
We're recording.
We learned how to overcome an obstacle, sir.
Yes,
And
that's
reframe
exactly right.
We learned how to overcome an obstacle, and here we are. We're working just fine. See, the clicker's working and everything.
Oh, next week, you know what? There'll be a desk sitting right there with a computer on it and a camera.
But don't get it confused. Everyone will still have those moments. I do. Every time I walk up to a new business, and this is what I do. When I walk up to a new business, there is a half a second at the door where I have all of that go through my head. But the difference is that I've done this enough and I've decided who I am inside enough that I feel comfortable that when I get on the other side of the door, there's nothing that can be presented to me on the other side of that door that I can't handle. Okay? I know that I've been successful in those scenarios before. And I know that even if they are furious and can't stand me and they hate the way that I sound and they don't like anything that I've said, they want me gone right now, I know that I can comfortably handle that situation. When you have that decision about who you are and what you've decided to do, if I told you there's $1 million in that room, but there's a jerk in the doorway, you're going to get through that jerk, aren't you? You're going to get past him one way or another. That won't be enough of intimidation to you. That won't be enough of a risk to prevent you from getting to the reward. So when I walk into a room, when I walk into a new business, feel comfortable that you and your mind, you know, you can just utilize what's in the room. Walk to the room. The first thing that I said, and Randy, you back me up on this. I walked in and I said, you don't often see a full set of armor in a business lot. Right or wrong? That's the first thing that I said. Walk into the room and just utilize what you see. If I walked into this room, you could talk about the posters that are on the wall. You could talk about the music that was playing. I'm a big fan of the Goo Goo Dolls. That's what was playing. You could use anything to start a conversation because you walk through that physical door, but then you have to open that emotional door for that person that's on the other side. Remember, to them, you're a stranger too. Who is this guy? What does he want? Is he a friend or foe? Does anybody have a medical background? Any nurse assistants, anything like that? Anybody know what the amygdala is?
Mm-mm.
Okay, you got your brain. In the middle of your brain, there's a ring of neurons called the amygdala. Its only function is to determine, number one, friend or foe, and number two, fight or flight. That's it. It does it all day long. People have, when people come back from war and they have PTSD where they're constantly hypervigilant because their amygdala is overactive. That amygdala is where that feeling comes from. You get up to that door and you're like, oh, friend or foe, fight or flight. You go through the door and you've overcome it, but now it's their turn. I walk in, Sonny's sitting at the desk. Now it's Sonny's turn. Friend or foe, fight or flight. It's on me now to make her feel comfortable. It's not the other way around, Angela. It is not up to you to make sure that you feel comfortable, and it's not them being judgmental of you. You're in control, and it's up to me to make sure they know I'm a friend. I'm here to help, and they don't have to fight or flight. Put yourself in that position mentally and say, you know what? It's not up to them who I am. It's up to me to show them who I am. And that's the opportunity that you have when you get in there. Remember the superpower 3-step from last time. Pam, were you online last time? Okay, real quick. When you first make a first impression on somebody, this is what I came up with of years of, well, screwing this up. And eventually I settled on this is the best way to make a good first impression on somebody because nobody does it. I call it the superpower 3-step because so few people do this that it's like a superpower. When you walk into a grocery store, one smile, you smile at them and you genuinely say hello. Doesn't have to be hello, it can be whatever you want. Hey, hi, hey, whatever it is. Good morning works very, very well, especially if it's morning. And then one joke, because the problem is, Pam, what we end up doing, and we all talked about the cashiers at the grocery store last time. They always say, how you doing? I'm fine. Blah, 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 weather. Yeah, blah, 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 weather. Okay, have a good day. Okay, you too, bye. It's routine. You'll never be remembered that way. But if you walk in, one smile, this is a real one I did. Just smile. They say, good morning. Good morning. I've got call me maybe stuck in my head. And then I hit them with a question, but the question has to be about them. And remember I said, I caution against how you doing? Why? Do you guys remember?
Fine.
I'm fine, yeah.
Is there anywhere to go with that? And let me ask you a question, Pam. If you've been awake more than 10 minutes in developed society, you know that fine, Brian. I swear I was going to try to keep moving past that, but it was pretty funny. So. There's nowhere to go with fine. And fine, do you ever believe it?
No.
What's wrong? I'm fine. Do you believe it? No. How are you? I'm fine. You got a hatchet stuck in your face. You're not fine. I said it. If you're not talking about your hair, you're not fine. But what I said was, if you could go back in time 5 years and you had 10 seconds with yourself, what would you say? Clock's a ticking, Nana. Is it-
Don't
6,
do a lot of things.
5.
I don't mean that like that.
Run.
Yeah.
All right, we put Pam on the spot. Swing and a miss. Jessica, what would you tell yourself?
Just do the next right thing.
Just do the next right thing. I like that one. The cashier at the grocery store that day said, I need to trust myself.
Yeah.
I didn't trust myself for years now, and I made all the worst decisions. I need to trust myself. And she sure as hell remembered me the next time I went to the grocery store. She had another answer. It fleshed it out a little bit more about why she needed to trust herself. She sought me out in the grocery store just to tell me the story. So you become memorable. You're not just fine.
I tried that out, by the way,
Tell me, I wanna hear.
So me and my kids went to the grocery store and we were checking out and she didn't even look up at me. Like she just immediately started. And I'm like, so what was the best part about your day today? And she was like, she just kind of looked up at me and she was like, well, I started a new job here like 3 days. And, I went on and on to tell me all this stuff. But it was so funny because when I ask her, my kids start laughing at me and they go, Mom. And I'm like, I just want to know what the best part of her day was.
It's because so few
So
people
weird.
do it. It's Garfinkeling, isn't it, Brian? It's Garfinkeling, but you gave her an opportunity to talk about the fact that she just started a new job. Maybe she's still stressed out about whether or not she's doing a good job.
Yeah.
Which would have been, that'd be a great bookend at the end. Instead of, okay, take it easy, say, you know what, you're doing a great job, keep it up.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I don't know if all this, is it all this or Aldous?
Aldis.
All bag chips.
I'm here. It's Aldous.
Okay, because it is Aldous.
Yes, it is.
What's wrong? She's Aldous in a bag of chips. Thank you, Aldous. she had a good story about it from the same day, just like you're talking about. You ended up queen of the 7-Eleven, didn't you?
Yes, I did. And I used it yesterday at the Food Lion. I
Tell-
didn't tell a joke, but what I did is I made a point to ask the cashier her name. I saw the badge, but I couldn't pronounce it. And I know people like hearing their name. I got
yeah.
that. So just to engage in a conversation, I had a quick conversation at the register and about how she was saying that she complains too much and she's going to make a choice to stop complaining. And I said, hey, you're right. We choose how our day is going to go. And I said, by the way, what's your name? And could you pronounce that for me? And so it calls her to say it. And so I introduced myself. And so now, of course, I become memorable because we had that short exchange.
Yeah, absolutely. And you were able to give her that confirmation that her choice to stop complaining is the positive choice. And you know what? We're all making that choice together. You're not alone in this. That's fantastic. I'm not making it up, Pam. This stuff works. It really,
does.
really does.
Oh, I've done it to her a billion times.
Did she tell you what she would tell herself 5 years ago?
I dropped different questions.
Did
to her.
you? But it absolutely works.
I'd make her show me where things are. We all know, I know where everything's in the auto store, but I'd make her get up around the counter and I would make her talk to me because I could see weight on her face for about a year. Is that true or false?
Sometimes it takes a lot to break the OODA loop.
Oh, no. I mean, literally, because she had weight all over her face a lot of times. And then I decided the last day I talked to her, I said, okay, now today we're going to talk to you guys. What's up?
Welcome aboard, Pam. We appreciate you being here. So if we're going to reframe C-type goals, if we remember before, C-type goals demand growth, cause discomfort, require action. But if we reframe them, they're an opportunity for growth and they cause progress and they inspire action. That's why I put Elon Musk up there, because once upon a time, Elon Musk decided that he was going to build rocket ships. He thought it was a tragedy that America in 1969 put men on the moon. But then after that, we had the space shuttle program, which could only go to low Earth orbit, couldn't go outside of low Earth orbit. And then in 2011, they decommissioned the space shuttle and the United States of America could not go to space. They had to rent seats on Chinese or Russian rockets to go to space. He said, well, that's ridiculous. And so he started SpaceX because he wanted to put rockets in space from the United States and he wanted to send men to Mars. The problem came up. The problem that came up was the fact that nobody believed in him. Nobody's ever done this before. But he said, well, nobody's going to kill me or eat me. And it's physically possible to succeed. So he went and he bought a book and taught himself rocket science. I'll say that again. He bought a book and taught himself rocket science. He had to grow into the person that could launch rockets into space. And now SpaceX launches more cargo into space than any other organization or government on planet Earth. All because he decided he was going to grow into a rocket scientist one day. It's not rocket science. To him it is. So what's your responsibility in all this? Your responsibility is to be prepared for the day that your preparation meets opportunity. Marsha, it's your responsibility to be prepared with the appropriate knowledge when that client comes along who says, you know what, I need like $250,000 in insurance. Are you prepared to sell me that? And Marsha will say, you bet I am. I've been thinking about you all year. I'm glad we finally meet each other. This is a good opportunity. That's because you're prepared. Remember I said I was going to reference Bruce Lee? That's what Bruce Lee always said. Preparation and opportunity. You train day in and day out, even though you're not fighting day in and day out. As a martial artist, they train constantly until one day that moment comes where they have the opportunity to utilize what they've learned in order to protect somebody or protect themselves. That opportunity is a once in a lifetime thing, but that preparation takes place every day. So if you prepare yourself, you were talking about going to elocution classes to change your accent.
Oh, yeah.
It's called an elocution class.
Oh,
Number one, I don't think you need it. I'm just saying.
Really?
I really don't think you need it. I'm going to throw that out there because there are people who speak very, very correctly.
mhm.
Okay. And there are people who don't want to hear it the way I've got to say it.
Okay.
There are people who are only going to hear it when you say it. Okay, there is nothing to be said about the way that I speak versus the way that you speak. Okay, Brian, and you hit me if I'm lying.
Oh, some people will see you, some people won't, but the ones that need to hear you will hear you.
And will only hear you.
That's exactly right, because you think they're gonna hear me as opposed to you.
So keep that, don't sleep on who you are.
We'll talk about
You
that
need to
more
change.
after we get done here.
Okay.
But if that was something that somebody decided they absolutely had to do to be who they want to be and get where they want to go, they would do that to do that preparation. That preparation would take place every day, but that opportunity would only come along every so often. So you have to be prepared for when preparation meets opportunity. So seek out the education that'll teach you the skills that you need to perform at a high level when the opportunity presents itself. Day in and day out, you'll be training, but what you're doing is sharpening yourself for the moment when it comes up for you. You got to seek out the experiences, because education, book learning, that's not gonna do it. You're gonna have to pick up the phone and call some people and experience what it's like to be in the middle of that. And you'll get it wrong a bunch of times. Pam, remember I said I got it wrong for years before I figured out what the right formula was, right? So you'll get it wrong a few times, and that's completely okay, because that's a part of your process, it's a part of your journey. And then seek out those opportunities. And I put on there, be water. And I know somebody said they were a Bruce Lee fan.
Not the rock, be going.
Capers, I love Bruce Lee.
You love Bruce Lee?
Yeah, be like water.
Yep.
Yes.
It's not working. Brian, any thoughts?
Use the mouse, there you go, maybe, maybe.
See the arrows.
Yeah, you see the arrow in the center? Use the mouse, like the mouse, the real mouse.
Right here.
Oh.
Fancy, fancy.
No volume. That's a, I got it. Said I have it Googled also.
Yeah, the TV's turned all the way down
Oh.
because it was like.
It's always something, guys.
Always something good.
Sorry.
It becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. The water can flow, or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
I would add to that, when you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup, but it stays water. So just because you have prepared yourself to be ready for any scenario, any situation that you might face in what you're doing, you're still yourself. You're still the person that you are, and now you know that you are that person.
This is what it is.
There it is. You guys never met this knucklehead, did you? But you see how those different situations present themselves. This guy over here on the left, that's a World War II guy. He's passed away now. This over here on the right, you see the top right, the kid who's hugging me?
Mm-hmm.
He's blind. This was one of those like a fair kind of a thing, and all the commotion was making him scared. And his little brother pulled him over to me and said, "Can he touch your badge so that he knows that you're a policeman?" And I let him touch my badge, and he wrapped his arms around my neck and would not let go of me the rest of the day because he was scared. But you see this scenario that I'm in, right? But I'm also these people too, in all these scenarios. I've been deployed twice. That's my wife, that's my son. He's a lot taller now. You guys saw a picture of him last time. So I'm also all those people. Now you see that guy?
You were in a midriff?
What's that? Yes. Yeah, like Apollo in Rocky III. Now, do you think that guy should be the same as that guy?
Uh-huh.
No, not at all. But they're both the same guy. So when you have the ability to form yourself to the scenario, you'll feel comfortable in any scenario.
That's right.
Neither one of those situations made me apprehensive. because I had the belief in myself that I knew whatever was presented on the other side of this situation, I know that I can deal with it comfortably. I know that I can take care of this kid until we find his parents. I know that we can handle whatever situation is presented before us over there.
So you're saying you have layers.
Yes, like an ogre.
Just watch that.
So have faith in yourself. Learn how to peel back your layers. I love that movie so
Me
much.
too.
So much. All right, so next time we're going to talk about superpowered conversations, as long as Brian wants to have me back. Does anybody have any questions? Not a thing. Okay. Brian, anything?
No, that was great. I'm sorry I had technical difficulties.
Brian, we had technical difficulties.
No, y'all were great.
As a team, we overcame them.
We did.
I'm just saying, thank God for Jessica and Sonny.
I know. I don't know.
We needed our troubleshooters here.
I promise you next week it will not be that big of a deal.
So I think if Brittany had been warmer, it would have made a better antenna in the whole situation. And so the whole situation would have been a little bit better. But no, I really appreciate you guys having me up here. I hope you guys got something out of it.
Oh, no,
Mhm.
we had a great time.
Yes,
We had
it
a
was
great time.
awesome.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Let's figure out how we're gonna do this. Well, we'll do that later.
But if you guys think of questions later on, Brian knows how to reach me. Matter of fact, I think I've got my cards here.
Actually,
I-
we, something Sunday based on something that you did for us. So was it Sunday when I sent out that message about your contact card?
Yeah. it was.
Ah,
So I had everybody fill out the contact card in their phone to do their,
yes, sir, absolutely. Yes, that's the way I do everything, because I'm betting at least 3 of these end up in the trash and then the other 2 end up as bookmarks. So, but here they are.
In the bottom of a bottomless pocketbook.
The bottomless pocketbook. See, you have to reframe the bottomless pocketbook, because that's the place